we've gotten some of what we needed sorted out. Now, let me explain to you how this is going to work here. This is the main body of the ship, the upper portion. This, if I can remember how this went together, no, that went that way. No, that went like that. Now, if you look here, this is our slot for our stand. Wait, no, am I looking at it upside down? Because yes, I am looking at it upside down. This is where our stand is going to go. Let's just take another fit. Yes, that is where our stand is going to go. So needless to say, that is where our wires have to come out. So I've got to get the wires running to all of these engines. I'm going to have to bring them down and into the ship. And it's going to have to pass through the other set of the engine here. This is the trickiest part of doing this kind of a build, is just figuring out where you're going to route all of the wiring through. So here you see our engines. We have 1, 2, 3 going through there. We still have these covers to put on, so we have to figure out how that's going to work. We're going to have to probably put channels in here. We're going to have to run channels into the center section of engine so that we can put the wires inside the channel so that we don't pinch them when we close everything up. Because when we reinstall these cover pieces, let's see. Yeah, these side cover pieces are going to press right up against these ribs here. So what we're going to have to do is we're going to have to cut notches in all of these ribs in order to allow our wire to sit down in it so that we don't damage the wiring. As a matter of fact, now that I'm looking at it, I think I'm going to have to open up. Okay, we're going to have to open up the covers also. This portion of the covers. And that slides into there. It's very important to know how this goes together. Okay, we're going to have to open that up. And then all of these will have to be cut out because these tabs here are going to slide into the notches here. So basically just slide into each other and lock together. So that is a little bit of a problem for our wiring. Because we will not be able to have our wire going through here. And coming out of the other end with everything locked into place. So let me do a little figuring out and then we'll be back as soon as I figure out how I'm going to do this. Okay guys, we have the first LED installed. Now, it actually worked what I planned out, which nobody's more surprised about than me. As you can see, there's plenty of easy movement between the harness and the part that it's inside of. So I did cut a channel all the way through. I cut the inner part of these ribs off all the way back to here, where there's just enough of an opening when the parts are joined together to allow the wires to come out. Now I may have to do more cutting to allow them to sit inside without being pinched, but for now we can at least have these engines wired up and have the first portion of our lighting done. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to start cutting away at all of these inner supports here, and then cutting correspondingly to the cover here, putting our light in, sliding our cover into place, and we'll have 2 out of the 8. Now, how many engines does this thing have? 4, 8, 9, 10, 11 engines lit. And the center one, of course, will be easy. We're just going to slide the light in through here and then just figure out how our wires are going to run. So let's get to cutting. Okay guys, and there we go. We have our first set of engines wired up with lights. Now we just have to figure out where these wires are going to go after this. Now, you can see now we have plenty of slack on the wires. We have no wires binding. One thing I did notice, even though the seam lines, Bandai is very good at hiding their seam lines and making them look like they're part of the ship. And since these will be internal to the ship, to the engines in the center, you're not really going to see them very much. But cutting those supports on the inside does kind of loosen the fit of this part, so something you have to be aware of, because that seam line is a bit more apparent than it was before I cut all those parts off. But as I said, this is going to sit in between all of the other engines, so it's not something that's really going to be readily visible, and once it's all painted up you won't even see that it's got those little gaps there. Okay, now we have to figure out what we're going to do with the other engines. Guys, now we're at the end of the first set of engines. You can see we have them installed in the engine section of the ship. We have our wiring running through. We're going to be using the opening for the stand to run our wires in and out of the ship. We have all of our lights installed, so we're going to do a light test now and see how all our work turned out for the first 3 engines. Just a quick light test. And here we go, guys. Hold on, let's shut off the overhead light so we don't have to look at that. And there we go. We have our first 3 engines lit up. Never mind the light leaks, that's all going to be covered over as soon as we paint this thing. But we got to get these engines sorted out before we do anything else. So that's it, guys. We're going to end this video here with the first 3 engines. And now we're going to get into planning and building the remaining engines. And we'll be back with that in the next video, because it takes a lot of planning to get these things to work. Alright guys, I'll see you on the next one.